Good morning, everybody. Meteorologist Jeremy Kappell with you live from the Kappell Weatherplex as we continue to monitor the tropics this morning. I've got some really good news, I think, for a lot of folks. As of midday yesterday, mid-afternoon yesterday, there was a high confidence that the storm would be impacting portions of the Florida Peninsula. And we have seen some rather dramatic changes to the forecast track over the last 12 to 18 hours. The model's now making a hard right turn, and this is going to be some very good news, I think, particularly for the state of Florida. You're not in the clear. Again, Sunshine State, stay with me. You're not in the clear, but I think we're moving in the right direction. So we'll have that for you. I want to get out a couple other social media posts while we're getting started here. If you don't mind a quick like or share of this live video, it would very much be appreciated before we get down into the latest, the 11 a.m. update just coming in from the National Weather Service. And so we're going to be discussing what they are saying, and we'll have the latest forecast track, intensity, and expectations with, again, still very powerful hurricane. Right now it's a formidable force in the western Atlantic. The storm, it's cranking at about 145 mile-per-hour winds at last check. This is the way it looked this morning at sunrise. You can see before, this is the visible satellite imagery here, where you can see as the sun made its way up, was able to illuminate the bottom of that storm, and then obviously very well defined eye, and a very strong storm it is, with category 4 status being maintained. So give me just a moment here and we'll get caught up, and we'll get started with this live update. Let's see. And let's see who we have on here live. Looks like we've got about 25 in the door so far. I've got James Baggett on here. We've got I'm a Rookie, Diane P, Don Luzecki also on here as we start off our Saturday. Again, the 11 a.m. update coming in right now from the National Hurricane Center. That has been shared to my social media feeds, and we can get this one started. So, like yesterday, we're watching that storm as it's getting better organized in time. Now, what I want to show you is the National Hurricane Center forecast from yesterday. So I provided a midday update yesterday, and this is what they were showing at the time. So this was yesterday midday, and basically had the storm making beeline right on into the south central sections of the Florida Peninsula before making that right turn. Well, that was yesterday's forecast. Let me bring in today's forecast, and it has changed quite dramatically. Here you go. So new forecast coming, and there you have it. They're making that turn much sooner. Now notice the east coast of Florida still within the cone of uncertainty, and there are also active hurricane warnings that are in effect across portions of the central and northern Bahamas. But confidence is growing that we're going to see that storm make that turn a little bit sooner now. Latest information coming in from the National Weather Service. It's still 944 millibar, make that 945 millibar, the current pressure as of 11 a.m. Top sustained winds have actually gone up some, now at 150 miles per hour. So again, quite a formidable force. This is the way it looked this morning at sunrise. The visible satellite imagery now showing that very, very strong storm. Now, yesterday, the hurricane models, a lot of them were doing this, which was scary. Looking at basically what would be a category 4 storm making a direct hit onto the Florida mainland. Now, some ideas have changed today with this, and I'm happy to say about that. So I'm going to show you those changes to that forecast track here in just a moment. Let's get an update. However, some satellite imagery before we dive on into the new hurricane forecast. And this is, there you go, this is true color daytime multispectral IR. You can see that storm, the size of it, the shape. It's a formidable storm. Let's go on over to water vapor imagery. That's what you're looking at here. In the meantime, let me take a couple questions and comments before we go back into the track of the storm. And I've got about 40 people on here live. If you haven't already shared the video, please do so. Like this channel and the video if you haven't already. And if you haven't hit the subscription button, please do so. I'm meteorologist Jeremy Kappell with you, tracking the latest with Hurricane Dorian. Some great news for our friends down there into the Sunshine State. It looks like, although you're still at risk, that main threat is beginning to shift quite dramatically off to the north. That'll help right now. Thomas Stanley on here. Any chance any of that, this latest forecast is a temper panic? Temper panic, you say? You know, the latest forecast, and we can only go with what we're seeing on guidance. By the way, this is the water vapor, lower atmospheric water vapor imagery, where you've got the greens. That's where you have that tropical moisture in abundance. You've got drier air around it, but it really does a great job of identifying where that storm is located. So the question is, where is it going to go? So what I was showing you a moment ago, and we'll go back to this. This is yesterday's forecast track by the WRF hurricane model, showing it's making a beeline for the Florida Peninsula. Now, a big turn. Okay, so, I see Thomas Stanley kind of clarifying on his question about a 90-degree turn, question mark. Yeah, sure, how convenient. Well, I'm going to show you how the models are arriving at that. So hold on for a moment. So this was yesterday, and this would have been basically a worst-case scenario for the state of Florida. Now this is today. Same model, 24 hours later. Now look at it. There's the Florida Peninsula on the far left. It completely misses. Goes hard right, still a formidable storm, and then makes its way towards the North Carolina coastline. But even that's not a guarantee. As you can see, it was beginning to turn in the final few images of this frame. There's Florida on the left. Now watch as it lifts to the north. You're going to see South Carolina and North Carolina come into view here. And watch, it continues to make that right turn. This would be wonderful news for just about everybody. It would bring some rain and some wind to the southeast coast, but it would not be a huge impact. This would be great because the strongest winds would remain on the northeastern side of the storm, and that would be out at sea. It would basically be a fish storm. We would love to see that. So hopefully that's the way it pans out. We know there's no guarantees when it comes to something like this, but that's what we'll have our fingers crossed for, is for that to be the case. I'm going to pull up regional satellite for you coming up in just a moment, put this back into perspective for you, showing you where that storm is located. And I'm coming on over to COD. This is College of DuPage. We've got the enhanced infrared satellite imagery here. And so that storm's swirling, and a lot of people were asking, well, how is it even possible that it can make that type of a turn? And that we wouldn't know about it until just now. Well, you really need to look at the winds, what the winds are doing. So here's a look at hemispheric winds, and these are upper level. And we're looking for, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to bring up, this is 500 millibar wind. That's what we're looking for. And as I zoom on in here, these winds here associated with our hurricane. Now, if you look closely, winds to the north here, or just to the north of that area of interest across the western Atlantic, you will see that clockwise motion to the atmosphere. This is a lobe of high pressure. Okay, there's a weakness around that high that's going to allow for this storm to travel on the periphery of the high, and that's going to allow it. But it's a very weak. It's very subtle. And so I talked about this a little bit during my video yesterday. Is that these storms, the way they travel is all about that mid and upper level wind field, and whenever you have a strong wind, such as like jet stream type of winds, it's easy to predict where the storm is going to go. So going back to the winds, if it was up here with these jet stream winds across the northeast, there'd be, well, it'd be a no doubter that storm will be ripped off to the north and east. But because the winds are so light, it makes it very difficult for the models to pick up where it's going to go. It's kind of like if you throw, you throw a piece of wood into a fast-moving stream. It's easy to predict where it's going to go. You throw it into a pond of standing water or just barely moving water, little eddies, it's going to be difficult for you to see where it's going to go or for you to figure it out. Same thing with these models. They're having a difficult time figuring out exactly which ebb it's going to take. But hey, the news today is good based on what we're seeing from these jet stream winds. So I'll take it. I'll take it anytime. All right, so this is a look at what the different spaghetti plots are showing us for today. And they are dramatically different than where they were 24 hours ago, where so many of them were taking it across the Florida Peninsula. Now very few are even taking it to the Florida Peninsula. You got just a couple stray models here that take it down, and this one looks highly suspect, the one that's trying to take it down. I think that's could have been the earlier run of the H-mod. I'm not sure which one, but almost all of them now are keeping it offshore, out to sea. And this would be best news for the state of Florida. So where's it going to go? Well, you can see so many of them here, just really concentrated right in this region. Let me do that again. Concentrated right here. Some of them missing it completely as it gets caught up in those faster jet stream winds. That would be wonderful. Some of them coming right up here and taking it right perhaps into North Carolina. Very few of them are now into South Carolina, and almost none of them now are into the state of Florida. So you can see where your highest chances are of actually watching that storm track, and if it could make landfall, this thing may completely whiff, and that's beginning to be the concept that the Storm Prediction Center is also showing you. So these are the individual spaghetti model tracks. What I'll show you next is the National Hurricane Center forecast cone, and put that on. And you can see they have not taken east sections of Florida Peninsula out of the woods yet, but they are shifting their cone as the data is shifting as well. And here's the actual official forecast track, and where it does keep it mainly offshore. We'll do a little zoom in here, get rid of those, get rid of the models for the moment. And so forecast track is keeping it offshore Florida. That's the red line. That's the best fit. And then so maybe suspect up here in North Carolina. But either way, I think everybody should be breathing better. This is a very dangerous storm. And now we're looking at the storm perhaps, fingers crossed, prayers being said, that it becomes nothing more than a fish storm as it right hooks maybe out into the open Atlantic. That would be awesome. Let's take a couple questions on here. Emily Ware on here praying it goes back to sea. That's the idea. Thomas, maybe it takes a Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, that one did a number, as I remember, coming out of the Caribbean, crossing over Cuba, and then making a beeline right smash into the southwestern sections of the Floridian Peninsula. So hard hit, I believe, it was Fort Myers with that one. I'm not seeing that, so that's good. Yeah, it is good, Stanley. Thank you. The European model said that Dorian would do this almost a week ago, but then it also came back and said, no, it's probably going to make landfall. And then yesterday's run, starting with the afternoon run, put it back out to sea. And then all the models began to follow the European model. Yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, last night, and now this morning. So more good news. We can take a look at some model imagery while it's coming in. Let me pull up the latest here, and again we'll take another perspective of this hurricane as it continues to swirl. This is College of DuPage taking a look at your enhanced infrared satellite imagery. You can see the southeastern United States. You got a little front. That little front is actually going to help to lay down the tracks for this thing to begin to turn, which would be great. All right, so that's where it's at. This is that new model run from Dorian. This is the wharf model. Again, showing it making that right turn, which would largely keep it out to sea. you know, there's no guarantee that this is the way it's going to pan out, but it sure would be nice to see it pan out this way. I'm going to bring up here, this is the, I'm going to see if I can't get a little tighter zoom for you, southeastern United States. We're going to go on over to the 3K NAM, which this will be interesting. I have not seen this all the way out, and it's still rendering, so it's at not, okay, we can take it out to 60 hours. I'm going to let this filter for a moment. Okay, we'll have that up here for you. We've got about 50 people on here right now. Thomas Stanley, thank you very much for being on here and for that shout out. If you guys haven't already liked the video, please do so or share it. And then also, easy way for you to get updates, and I update major weather events across the United States on this program. New program, by the way, and we are gaining subscribers daily, and hopefully with your help we will gain some more. So this channel is dedicated to providing live severe weather analysis. We cover tornadoes in the spring or whenever they're occurring, and obviously when it comes to hurricane season we take that very seriously as well. So let me show you what the new model is saying. This is the 3K NAM, and I'm still getting it to render out. It's coming along. Okay, here it is. So 3K NAM. We'll put this into view. This is tropicaltidbits.com. Wonderful site for tropical weather forecasting. These guys know what they're doing. Okay, I want to make sure I get that centered up for you. So this is basically initialization here. We take this thing forward in time. It shows it cruising right on into the northern Bahamas, and right near Grand Bahama Island, it stalls out. And barometric pressure gets down into the 19, about 908 at one point, 906. Let me back that up. Okay, so it's possible this thing could achieve Category 5 status. Did you hear me? It could achieve Category 5 status before it makes that hard right turn. It stalls out near Grand Bahama Island, and then again begins to lift north. And this particular model only goes out 60 hours, so we can look into Monday evening, but that's how far we're looking at with this one right now. This is the 12Z high resolution 3K NAM. Now I can take the same model, the lower resolution, I can take it out a little further. Let me see if I can get this one out to 70. No, this is the other one that gives me, I think I can get it. No, not on this side. Yeah, I can. Here we go. So this is the lower resolution, same model, but we want to see what it does with it. I'm going to take you back over to southeastern US and see if it'll take me there. It may not. Okay, it's not going to give me that as an option. That's fine. We'll move forward. We just want to kind of basically see where it takes it from there. So stalls out Grand Bahama Island, and then look. Okay, so it's buffering, so I'm kind of processing this data as I'm bringing it in to the computer, but you can see it's moving north. North, yes, that's what we'd like to see. So that would be good. That is the NAM model that we're showing you right there. Now, if we go back over to our spaghetti plots, I can show you what the GFS is showing about this. And I'll take you back over here to our Kappell cast, if you will. Forecast models, we've got a number of them that we look at. What I want to show you is basically what just a large number of these forecast models and hurricane models that are showing. Here you go. So different from what we saw just 24 hours ago. Now I'm going to take you from basically general potpourri of models to just the GFS and its ensembles. And you can see there's pretty high consistency. In fact, there's not one from the GFS now that brings it on shore the Floridian coast. Only a few actually have it make landfall somewhere between Savannah, Georgia to Cape Hatteras. So this is the area that could potentially still be impacted by landfall according to the GFS. You can see where the GFS is. Let's go back over to the Hurricane Center. Their best fit, basically right in the middle of the GFS forecast track. There's the cone of uncertainty. So still a lot of area at play. So anywhere in this cone of uncertainty, anywhere here, that hurricane could cross. It's still a huge, cone of uncertainty here. But a lot of people still at risk, and who's to say that this storm doesn't have more tricks up its sleeve? But the news today is that it's good. Good news today coming in here. Looking at most of those models taking that hard right turn. You always want to keep a disaster supply. You always want to keep that emergency supply list in place, and you want to stock up maybe an interior closet, good place to keep this stuff, or in a basement if you've got one. And you need this for all, you always need this kind of on hand, but particularly if you're in a hurricane prone area this time of the year, it's a good idea to have that supply of fresh water. You want to have food for about 10 days or so. Non-perishable canned goods are always good. First aid kit, flashlight, battery powered radio. Do they still make the hand crank radios? I haven't seen them in a while. And whatever you need, just in case. For this storm, hopefully you won't need it at all, but eventually you may need this in time. Cash is always a good idea to keep on hand as well when it comes to something like this. So thank you guys for stopping by during this live update. Again, the 11 a.m. update coming in from the National Hurricane Center. It's a better forecast than when we have been looking at. It's made that hard right turn. Hopefully it will continue to make that turn, and hopefully this thing moves out to sea. I've got Jill Thayer on here. Thanks for all you do. We have family in Fort Myers, Orlando, and Daytona areas, and also in North Carolina. I pray it stays at sea. Thanks again for keeping us updated, Jeremy. That's no problem, and thank you for being on here. Okay, talking about the front coming across the Gulf of Mexico. That is, again, part of what's helping to steer this thing, we think, back out to sea, which is good. Okay, so ESS D. Meyer, can you explain why some storms stay on track and make landfall while others turn at the last minute? Now, I mentioned it has everything to do with these upper level winds. When these winds are very light, it makes it extremely difficult for the models to predict which way it will go, it will react. I will mention this one more time. There's the upper level flow that you're looking at. This is the winds associated with the hurricane, but as we zoom on in, these winds to the north, very light, but they are beginning to show that weakness around the side of this ridge that will allow it to turn to the right and to the north. So models don't do a great job of picking up small features like this until you get closer to them, and we think that's what's been happening with our models here last several days. So this will be good. This will be helpful if we can get that to make that hard right turn, which at this point we think that is what it's going to do. See if there's any more information coming in from the National Hurricane Center. I can get on over to you. I'll pull that up in my browser for you. This was the water vapor imagery. It's a formidable storm. I don't want that to get lost in the message here. Formidable storm. This is category 4, but it's a strong category 4. Right now, sustained winds at 150 miles per hour. Dorian, let's see where it's located at. Come on over to the latest public advisory. The storm, located about 415 miles east of West Palm Beach, Florida, has maximum sustained winds of 150 miles per hour, and it's currently moving west at only about 8 miles per hour, so the forward progress is beginning to slow. Goes to show you that the steering winds are light, which is part of the reason why we're having a hard time nailing down the forecast. Minimum pressure right now of 945 millibar. So that is where we're going with this storm. I'll pull up some more elements off of the Hurricane Center forecast page. So there's the actual forecast cone as I have shown you. This is a history of the storm, where it's been. The orange is tropical storm force winds. And then this is where this storm is going to go. The projection wind fields. Again, still bringing a high probability of tropical storm force winds to the Florida shoreline. About 70% of the East Coast, maybe 80%. But when it comes to hurricane force winds, it's going to really reduce that now. It's showing 30%. I think that even may be high. Hopefully that continues to get steered away in time and will not be a problem. Only time will tell, though, and we are, we still have several days to watch this, because it's going to make that turn over the course of the balance of the weekend, and it's not going to be until we get into probably Monday, Tuesday, before we realize if we are fully in the clear with this storm. So we've got a little while to watch it, and watch it we will. We will be back with further updates, and hopefully you guys will be back to join us as well. My name's Jeremy Kappell. I'm a degreed meteorologist with about 20 years of forecasting experience, from the Gulf Coast, from the plains, from the Midwest, from the Great Lakes. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad I'm able to have these live feeds with you guys, so thank you for stopping by. And see my friend Matt Ludvigson on here. He says, Matt says, looks like we all owe the seemingly outlier models earlier an apology. And it's true. Many of what appeared to be outliers are now maybe truth tellers. That's why we show all of the models. You sometimes just don't know which one is going to get it right. Tracy Anderson. They always hype these storms. I feel sorry for the people who spend 5 hours just to get a sandbag. Tracy, and I'm not going to say that there aren't some that hype, but right now this is not hype. Let me show you what's not hype. Come back over to my browser here. What you're seeing here, Tracy, is not hype. All right, this is a current forecast track. This is not hype. I mean, that's legitimate. That is a Category 4 hurricane. That's not hype. This storm producing winds somewhere on the order of about 150 miles per hour. There's no hype about that. Now, the only thing is we're changing the track, and this is great news. This is wonderful news for those, again, especially those in Florida that look like they could have been taking a hard hit. So there's no hype about that. It's the track that has changed, and that does sometimes happen. That's okay. It's a good thing. I know that's going to make a lot of people happy. If they did spend some time collecting sandbags or preparing their emergency disaster kits, that's okay. They'll be prepared for next time. But you know what? We're still not completely out of the woods. We'll have to watch this storm a little bit longer, as again, it's not set in stone until it's set in stone. So we'll be here, we'll be watching, we'll have more updates here throughout the course of the weekend. Thank you for stopping by. If you haven't already hit the notification button, please do so. Please subscribe to the page. If you haven't already, I'm meteorologist Jeremy Kappell. Thank you for being here, and we'll have more updates here over the course of the weekend. In the meantime, you guys enjoy your Labor Day weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.